Welcome into the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Got a great show today, folks. You know, we had a program on probably about, I want to say it was more than a few months ago, maybe 6 months ago, by the name of Obsessed. I know the book was called Obsessed. If you remember that program, it was about child abduction and sexual abuse in the New England area. And I know a lot of you responded to it. You were abhorred by it. It shocked a lot of you. And I know you responded to it in the fact that you wanted more. You wanted to bring a lot of it to light. Well, I have more for you today. I have more for you from the Michigan area with a good friend of ours and an excellent author by the name of Rod Sadler. I'm glad Rod came back on the program. Actually, came back quickly with this book of his, this brand new book, which is an excellent book, Depraved Obsession, the gripping true story of a law enforcement's hunt for a sadistic serial killer. I just got done reading it over the weekend, and boy, I'll tell you, for me, it was a fast read. Lots of great information. Rod's always great about putting together an excellent, excellent book. Let me tell you a little bit about Rod. We'll bring him in. As a decorated police officer, Rod Sadler's ability to document Michigan serial killer cases comes from a unique law enforcement perspective. For his entire 30 years in law enforcement, Sadler fostered relationships with many of the key people involved in the investigation, prosecution, and even the defense of these serial killers. These people include acquaintances of the killer, police officers, detectives, prosecuting attorneys, judges, and the killer's own attorneys. And he's done that in this book with Ronald Lloyd Bailey. And let me tell you, folks, Ronald Lloyd Bailey is a heck of a trip. He's not your average child abuser, not your average pedophile, not your average serial killer. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring in now and welcome back to True Crime Tuesday, Rod Sadler. Rod, thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, Tim, it's always a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you for having me back.
Well, thank you so much, my friend, for being with us. Boy, I tell you, Ronald Lloyd Bailey. Where to begin? I hate to use the word fascinating. I really do. But with a mind like this, I'm trying to find a good place to start here, Rod, because I want to start with him and then work our way back to the actual case. The depravity it takes for someone to prey on children, and Ronald Bailey preyed on young boys. To look at a young person and say, I want to take someone's innocence and then dispose of them like common garbage. To me, I can't in my mind get to that depth of depravity. In your experience, what does it take to turn down the kindness of your human soul and get to that point?
Oh boy, that's a deep question. I don't know. I can tell you that this was a extremely difficult book to write. The general audience out there that likes to read true crime, I don't think that they want to read about child killers. And my publisher agreed. He said that it's a very difficult subject for people to read. Mm-hmm. And so he said, if you could work your book to talk more about the investigation into how he was captured and how the families dealt with their tragedy, it's more intriguing to the audience than belaboring the murders of children. Right. And I said, well, I don't have to rework the book because that's what it's all about.
Right.
Ron Bailey is a sociopath who did everything that he did for his own gratification, if you will. And I think that's a very narcissistic person, one who thinks only of themselves. And that's clearly, I think it's evident in the book that Ron Bailey was out for one thing and one thing only, Ron Bailey. And it's a sad case. It really is sad cases, because this went on for like 15 years before he was brought to justice. 15 years. He admitted on the stand in his trial that over those 15 years, he had kidnapped anywhere between 12 and 15 young boys. And this just went on and on.
What's interesting here, Rod, is he didn't kill all 12 to 15 boys, did he?
No, he did not. We know for a fact that he killed 2 and that he had left a third one for dead that he thought that he'd killed back when he was 16 years old. And so there has been speculation from people in Florida that there could be some cases down there. And there's also some speculation that there may be a case in Ohio that he's involved in also that is unsolved. And then we get into another matter that occurred in the 70s when Ron was 16 or 17 years old. In Oakland County, Michigan, there was a series of child killings that are still unsolved. 4 children were kidnapped and murdered over about an 18-month period. And those cases have never been solved. And those were very near to where Ron Bailey was doing what he did. And so the book talks about those cases at the beginning, and then the last chapter is devoted to unanswered questions about Ron Bailey and the possibility that he could have somehow, in some way, been involved in those Oakland County child killings.
Okay. Let's talk about what makes up Ron Bailey and how he started out early in life. Tell us a little bit about Ron Bailey and his upbringing.
Well, Ron was, he had a brother and a sister, and he had parents that cared for him, but his dad was a workaholic, and his dad freely admitted that. His dad would work 12 hours a day. His mom would have to dole out the discipline. Ron would take off on his bike and be gone sometimes till well after dinner. And nobody knew where. He'd go ride his bike around with his buddies or be off on his own. And that's when he hit puberty back in the early 70s. That's when he had this thirst, if you will, for young boys. And he would get implicated in a kidnapping and be hauled in by the Livonia Police Department along with his parents, and he would sit there and deny everything. And then the next day, when his parents weren't around, he would go back to the Livonia Police Department and he'd confess everything that he did and told them it was all true. And so it's really odd that his parents didn't really pick up on that initially. I would say Ron was a loner, definitely a loner. That's the impression that I got. Kind of stayed by himself. That way he could operate on his own terms, if you will.
How unusual is that, Rod, that someone commits a crime, they say in front of their parents, I didn't do it, and then comes up with an alibi and then goes back and admits it later? I mean, to me, that seems like even though there's narcissism going on, even though there's self-preservation going on, at the same time, there's a need to want to confess. What kind of complex is going on there?
I can't answer that. I have to say that I think Ron Bailey, I have to believe that there was probably some sort of embarrassment to admit what he had done in front of his parents, although they obviously found out about it the next day when the police notified him. I just don't know what makes a man tick like that. Is it guilt? I don't think so. I really don't. If it is, if it is guilt, and he thought maybe he could stop, he was mistaken, because he literally had an unquenchable thirst for what he did to these boys, and he's definitely a strange individual.
It's almost like, reading it, and I'm just reading into it as I'm reading it. It's almost like if I tell the police, maybe the police will tell my parents will come down to me and tell me not to do it anymore. It's almost like by proxy. If I tell somebody, then they can tell my parents will come down on me, right?
Boy, I don't know. That's an interesting theory. I think Ron knew that he needed help at some point when this continued to go on and on and on. And I think that he and his family were receptive to, at one point, a judge had two options. When Ron was implicated in a felonious assault and kidnapping, and sexual assault and kidnapping and attempted murder of a 13-year-old boy, the judge had two options. He could send him to prison where he knew he would get absolutely no help, or because Ron was 16 at the time, he could put him into an institution and on probation and try to get him some psychological help. And maybe that's what Ron wanted all along. I'm certainly not here sticking up for Ron Bailey.
Right.
I'm just saying that maybe he realized, hey, I've got a problem here, and I'll go tell the police what I did, and maybe I can get some help. I don't know. It's a very complex personality that he has.
I think you're onto something there. I get the idea that he's always been self-aware, maybe to a point of being dangerous, and twisting it for his own means, right? Because there is
absolutely.
There is the evil psychopathic part of him that has to be self-aware enough to use it to his own advantage. And he does.
He does use it to his own advantage. Yeah.
Right.
And then I think when he gets in way too deep, then he's grasping like everybody else for a way to get out of it.
Yeah.
Along with his attorneys, and that leads to his defense and his ultimate two trials for two murders. But when he got put into the psychiatric hospital, the Hawthorne Center, he went through counseling with his family. And his family even admitted at one point, we thought that he was cured. We thought that he was cured. And clearly he wasn't. Not at all.
Your own opinion. I won't say opinion, your own experience, Rod. In your line of work, is someone who does this ever cured?
I don't believe so. No. I really don't. I don't think, I'm not a psychologist. I'm just basing it on my law enforcement experience, but I don't think that you can cure a pedophile. I really don't. Everybody says once a pedophile, always a pedophile. They may be able to suppress it to the point where people don't know, but are they ever cured? I don't believe so. And that's just my own opinion, though.
Is it just the preference? Is it ingrained? What is it? I mean, it seems like this is such a taboo subject to not be able to talk about it, but I've always wanted to talk to someone in law enforcement. What is it that they believe psychologically that turns on this pedophile that makes them want to keep going back over and over again?
Well, I think it's an attraction. They are attracted to children. What causes that? I don't know. I really don't. Everybody's wired differently. We all know that. Mm-hmm. I guess, what makes a person attracted to bondage and discipline, or what makes a person attracted to someone of the same sex? Those are questions that I can't answer. But there are people out there that are physically attracted to minor children. And I don't know what it is that causes that.
Yeah. Yeah. In this case, though, Ron Bailey takes it one step further, and there's no explanation as to why. I mean, there is an explanation. He decides to play a game, and it involves erotic asphyxiation. Explain to me where he comes up with this game of erotic asphyxiation. Where is it that he learns this, and how does he introduce it to these boys that he's kidnapping?
He learns it from being picked up, I believe it was by a truck driver when he was a teenager, and a truck driver showed him how to do it. And basically, erotic asphyxiation for your listeners, if they don't know what that is, it's where you use some sort of a strangulation device, restrict the flow of oxygen to your brain. It gives you a euphoric feeling as you climax. And that's what he was taught by some truck driver when he was a teen, and he liked it. And so when he would kidnap young boys, he would show them how good it felt. And that escalated to the point when Ron became an adult, where he ended up actually taking the lives of two boys while he was performing that on them.
But didn't he turn the table on that? It became, as he was gratifying, he would choke the boy. And it became a deal where he was getting satisfaction out of killing at the same time he was gratifying, correct?
You're correct. You are correct. Yeah. He would, as he learned that, every boy that he would kidnap, he would literally choke them and not himself. He may have used erotic asphyxiation on himself, but it was always when he was by himself. But when he kidnapped boys, he would use it on them. And you're correct. That's when it escalated to the point where it got dangerous, very, very dangerous. And that's the result is the book. And what he did to those two boys.
And I tell you what, we'll take our break early here, Rod, because there's an interesting thing that comes up in trial, and that he claims got him to that point where he decided he was going to choke to the point of death. And we won't jump too far ahead yet and talk about that. We'll kind of shelve that for now, and we'll bring it up a little bit later. But first, I want to talk about Sean Moore and that particular victim, because Sean Moore really is the crux that brings everything into light and brings Ron Bailey to the forefront. And Sean Moore really is the focal point of this book. In this case in particular of Sean Moore is a sad one. And it was heartbreaking. And I want to talk a little bit about him when we come back. Rod Sadler is our guest. The book is riveting, folks. That's the best way I can put it. Depraved Obsession, the gripping true story of law enforcement's hunt for a sadistic serial killer. Rod Sadler is our guest. And when we come back, we'll talk about Sean Moore, who is the featured victim, we'll put it that way, of this particular book. And when we come back, we'll talk about that fateful day where our killer meets up with him. And it happens over a holiday weekend. And we'll talk about why he was singled out. It's not a good excuse, folks. In fact, we'll talk about how ironic it is that he was singled out. And then we'll go on from there. When we come back, more with Rod Sadler right here on the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. My guest is Rod Sadler. The name of the book, Depraved Obsession, the gripping true story of law enforcement's hunt for a sadistic serial killer. Rod, before we left people, I was telling everyone about Sean Moore, who was the victim that the book really is centered around. There are other victims, of course, and it's not like we're trying to ignore those other victims. But he's the one that really this book is centered around, and there's a good reason for that. He's really the victim in which, I should say, Ronald Lloyd Bailey is tripped up over. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, it's basically because of Sean Moore's case, Ron Bailey was captured and put behind bars, and they did eventually tie him to some other cases, but Ron Bailey's name came to the forefront when he kidnapped 13-year-old Sean Moore.
Sean, unfortunately, was kind of wrong place, wrong time. And can you tell us why exactly he was wrong place, wrong time? What was going on in Ron Bailey's life that the two unfortunately met?
Well, in Ron Bailey's life, he had intended to go, it was a Labor Day weekend, 1985, and he had intended to go do something fun with somebody. And everybody that he wanted to do something with was already busy. He had a boat, wanted to go out on the lake, nobody to go out on the lake. He wanted to go up north, nobody to go up north with him. And it angered him. He was angry. And that day, the anger he got, he decided, hey, I'll just go up north by myself. He threw some stuff in his Jeep. He stopped over at a cousin's house to see if a cousin could go up with him. They were busy. And so he just went driving. And as he drove, he drank and he smoked some pot. And I have to believe that probably fueled his anger. And he stopped at a small convenience store, gas station convenience store, and that's where he saw Sean Moore. Sean Moore was a 13-year-old boy who lived with his parents and his older brother in Green Oak Township, Michigan. And Sean and his dad worked for the Ann Arbor News, and Sean and his dad were going to go out and work in the yard that day, and they were going to get the lawn mowed. And the lawnmower broke down about halfway through. And as his dad tried to fix it, Sean was hot, and he asked permission to get on his bike and ride a mile up the road to the little convenience store and get a can of pop. And his dad said, sure, but make sure that you're back pretty quick because we're all going to go out to dinner tonight. And so Sean left on his bike, and it was the last time his family ever saw him alive. Mm. So Sean did make it to the convenience store. The clerk remembered seeing him. His neighbor actually saw him at the convenience store. And when they did find his bike, the can of pop was tucked between the seat and the frame of the bike. So they do know that he did make it there.
What's interesting, too, is that when Ron Bailey runs into Sean Moore, he sees him at the convenience store. He locks onto him, almost like a predator locks onto prey. He sees him in the parking lot, kind of sipping on his A&W. He knows he needs to get him, but he's not going to get him right there in the parking lot. Obviously, he's going to wait for him to take off onto the road. But he makes this mistake. It's kind of fate, isn't it, Rod? It's kind of kismet, because he decides to take him on the side of the road. But as he takes him on the side of the road, it's a security guard who's passing them on the road who sees that something's not quite right. He thinks at first maybe it's a father who's disciplining his son, but then it's the way he has his arm tucked as he's taking him and putting him in the car, that he goes, wait a minute, something's not quite right.
Yeah, so Ron Bailey watches Sean Moore at the convenience store until Sean leaves on his bike. He's basically, he's going to watch and see which way Sean goes. And Sean headed back home. Bailey knew that stretch of road was not well populated, if you will. And he went down and he waited just off the side of the road when Sean started riding back home. And Sean rode in front of him, crossed his path. And that's when Bailey turned out of this little side fruit market and began to follow him. And he pulled up behind Sean and then used some ruse about, hey, can you tell me how to go get here, there? He used some sort of a ruse there. And as he's pulling up behind Sean and trying to get him to stop, Sean begins to brake and he begins to look over his shoulder, and the front of his bike is wobbling because he's going slow. He's looking over his shoulder. And at the same time, there's a security guard. Now they're on a service road next to a state highway here in Michigan. Mm-hmm. US 23 is the state highway. They're on Whitmore Lake Road, which is old US 23. A GM security guard driving down US 23 on his way to the University of Michigan Hospital because his daughter's been injured and flown by helicopter there, and they know she's going to have to go into emergency surgery. His mind is on that, but as he glances over, he sees Ron Bailey is escorting this 13-year-old boy back toward his Jeep, and he's got his arm around his back, and he's got Sean's other arm. He's grabbed his other arm, and Sean is visibly trying to prevent himself from being forced back toward the Jeep. And that's what the security guard notices, and something clicks, and he says, something's not right here. And he makes the immediate decision to take the next exit and try to head back up toward what he had just seen so that he can try to at least get a license number. So his mindset changed just like that. And honestly, thank God it did.
Yeah.
Because that set the wheels in motion.
Yeah. Yeah. And from there, you have not only an astute civilian who has training, who manages to get some sort of a description.
Yeah. The problem is with that scenario was that Mr. Monkman was the gentleman's name. When he was able to flag down a police officer almost immediately, because he worked for GM, he had that. All I can say is he must have had the GM mindset. Mm-hmm. And he described the vehicle that Sean was being forced toward as a GMC pickup, when in fact it was a Jeep Renegade.
Yeah.
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 Fortunately, there was another witness coming up Whitmore Lake Road, and she saw the same thing that Mr. Monkman did. And she described it as a Jeep, and she was absolutely certain of it because her boyfriend had one just like it. The problem was that Mr. Monkman gave that description of the pickup truck, and the second witness didn't come forward for 2 days. They weren't able to track her down for 2 days. And so for 2 days, the police were looking for a GMC pickup when in fact they should have been looking for a Jeep Renegade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they did end up in that time profiling someone in the area who might have been staying at a cabin, somebody who might have been in the area who would be alone. And they pretty much profiled who ended up being Ron Bailey.
They did. You know, this is the fascinating part about this. If you've seen the TV show, the Netflix series Mindhunter, or if you've read the book Mindhunter by John Douglas, one of the original FBI profilers, then you know what that means. The FBI can look well, and local law enforcement now too. The Michigan State Police has been doing it for years. They have their own profilers also, but they can take the circumstances of a crime, a murder, kidnapping, look at different aspects of it, and literally come up with the type of a person that might be responsible for that. And it's not an exact science. It's not necessarily something that could be used in court to say this is the guy that did it, but it's a tool that's used. And it was in its infancy with the FBI back in the mid-'80s. And they did a profile of who might have kidnapped Sean Moore. And it was astonishingly similar to Ron Bailey's profile.
Yeah.
It was uncanny almost.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
It was crazy how close they were to describing Ron Bailey.
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much nailed it. They pretty much nailed it. And unfortunately, like you said, unfortunately it was days later, but they pretty much nailed it. And from there, the pursuit is on, and they're looking for who they believe is Ron Bailey. And it's interesting how they start to do this, because they start pursuing the vehicle, don't they?
They do. The American Motors Corporation manufactured Jeeps in the mid-'80s, and the Michigan State Police contacted them. Well, I say the Michigan State Police. First, let me back up and say that Mid-Michigan kind of was still on edge about the Oakland County child killings 8 years before that. Mm-hmm. And so when Sean was kidnapped, the call went out. The Green Oak Township Police Department is where this occurred, and they had the jurisdiction. But obviously, this was a huge case. The Livingston County Sheriff's Office, the Michigan State Police, the Brighton Police Department, the FBI, local, state, and federal officials all came together, formed a task force, took over an old bank as a task force headquarters, and they worked 24 hours a day trying to find Sean safely. And it was one of those task force members that contacted the American Motors Corporation and requested the vehicle identification numbers for everyone between like 1980 and 1985 that had purchased a Jeep Renegade. And they got the list of the VIN numbers. The investigators then had to run those VIN numbers to obtain owner information, and then they had to literally begin to check with each one of those owners to see if any of them matched the description. It's a tedious process. At the same time, the Livonia Police Department knew what was going on from the media reports, and they called up the task force and said, we had this guy down here in Livonia. We've had him several times. His name's Ron Bailey. You really need to look at him. And by the way, I think he's got a Jeep now. Yeah. And so the Michigan State Police contacted Ron Bailey, and they spoke with him. And Ron Bailey said, oh, no, he says, I wasn't even around the holiday weekend. He said, I was in Caseville, up in the Thumb area of Michigan. I was fishing with my friend. And so they were going to follow up on that. They took his statement and let him go. And then it was later that tip came in from Livonia, and they went to his house late that night, the FBI did. And his parents said, well, he's over at a friend's house. And so they went over to the friend's house and glommed on to him. And he said, look, he says, I just talked to one of your investigators today. And he said, I told him I was up in Caseville fishing for the weekend. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Well, they interviewed his friend separately, and his friend said, yeah, he wasn't with me. We weren't up in Caseville. And so they knew that they had caught him in a lie at that point.
Yeah.
And so they had enough information to hold him. And so they did. They held him that night, and they brought in some witnesses who had seen the kidnapping. And sadly, none of them could identify him that particular night. But while he was there, this is good old-fashioned police work here. Mm-hmm. While he was there, they looked through his wallet, and they noticed a receipt from a towing company. And so after they let him go that night, because nobody could identify him, the next day they contacted the towing company. And the towing company said, yeah, we pulled that guy's Jeep out a couple weeks ago. He was four-wheeling and he got it stuck. And there was somebody else with him. And I know who it was because I knew her. And here's her name. And so they went and they interviewed her. And they said, were you with Ron Bailey? And she said, yeah. She said they pulled his Jeep out. And, well, where was Ron Bailey on Labor Day weekend? Was he with you? And she said, oh, no, he was up in, he was going up to Gladwin, Michigan, to our family cabin up there. And at that moment, everything fit. And the FBI knew exactly where Sean had been taken. It all came together because of that one receipt that they followed up on.
And then he was caught.
And then the Ferndale police contacted, I think it was the Ferndale police. That's where Kenny Myers was kidnapped from in 1984. Exactly the same method of operation. Sean Moore was snatched off his bicycle in 1985 and forced into a vehicle. Kenny Myers was snatched off his bike in 1984 and forced into a vehicle. A witness had observed it, thought the same thing that Mr. Monkman did a year later. She thought, it must just be a father disciplining his son, when in fact, Kenny Myers was being kidnapped also. And so the police were able to tie Ron Bailey to Kenny Myers' abduction and murder. And then another youth came forward and said, hey, I was kidnapped by that guy a month before Kenny Myers was. And so they had 3 kidnapping charges and 2 murders against Ron Bailey.
Now, Ron Bailey got a little squirrely, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Rod. He got a little squirrely. He was released from custody. They had brought him in for questioning. They released him. He kind of knew something was up, decided to flee, but he was tailed, correct? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, this is a great story. As soon as Ron Bailey was released that early morning, they held him all night. And he immediately fled to Florida. He hung around at a couple local bars, and then he had a friend drop him off at Detroit Metro Airport. Well, as soon as he had been released by police, they put a tail on him, and so they were watching his every move. And they saw him buy a ticket with cash. Back then, you could buy airline tickets with cash. And once he got his airline ticket, they needed a way to follow him. Well, somebody on the task force had some connections, and they were able to get Tom Monahan's corporate jet. For those of your listeners who don't know who Tom Monahan is, he was the owner of Little Caesars Pizza and the Detroit Tigers baseball team. Or, no, not Little Caesar. Please, forgive me for that.
Domino's, right?
Domino's Pizza. Domino's Pizza. And also the owner of the Detroit Tiger baseball team. And so he provided his personal jet, and they tailed the airliner down to Florida that Ron Bailey was on. They actually arrived first because the commercial airliner he was on had a short layover in Georgia. So they beat him down there, and they tailed Ron Bailey to a kind of a low-rent district trailer park south of Ocala, Florida, in a small town called Bellevue. And they didn't have a specific 24-hour surveillance on him. It was they couldn't get too close without tipping their hand, and so they kind of kept their distance. While that was going on, police in Michigan had already converged in Gladwin County at the cabin of Ron Bailey's girlfriend. And Sean's body was not there, but Sean's body was located down the road, like 0.3 of a mile down the road. And he'd been there a couple weeks. And so they had enough now to charge Ron with the kidnapping. They had to wait for the identification, positive ID, on Saturday during the autopsy before they could charge him with the murder. But once they had enough to charge him with the kidnapping, they let the team know in Florida. They moved in to the trailer to try to capture him, and he was gone. He'd slipped out. That resulted in a 3-day manhunt in Florida, in Marion County. And they had him pinned into about a 10-mile square area with police cars about every 500 feet. For 3 days, they had helicopters, police on horses, ORVs, just all sorts of resources used to try to capture him. And then on Saturday night, he finally, there was a corrections officer who was helping out the search for him, and she'd just taken her point, and she turned her flashlight over toward a fence, and Bailey put up his hands and said, "My name's Ron Bailey. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I give up." He turned himself in.
Wow. Again, we circle back to, is it that whole, that guilt complex, which I know there's no guilt in a narcissist, right? But is it the whole, do I want to come clean type deal? Do I want to, is there a small part of me that actually wants to admit to my crime? Is there, and maybe there's a better word for this here, Rod, and I'm stumbling for it, but do I want to admit to my crime because I want a little bit of fame for my crime, right? Maybe I want to be known for what I'm doing. Maybe I want recognition for what I'm doing.
I think that's the case with maybe a percentage of criminals. They want the notoriety. I don't think that was Ron Bailey's motive. I honestly believe that he was physically and mentally exhausted from being in literally a wooded swamp, being eaten by mosquitoes and snakes everywhere. And the reason that I say that is when his attorney met him for the first time, and you probably read this in the book.
Yeah.
Ray Kassar was his name, super nice guy, and he sat down with Bailey, and he looked at Ron Bailey, and it looked like he'd been beat up. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Did they beat you?" And Bailey said, "Who? The police?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "No." He says, "I was in a swamp for 3 days." He said, "These are all bug bites and stuff." So I honestly believe that Ron Bailey was physically and mentally exhausted from being hunted for 3 days. But you do bring up a great question, because that's what he did. Remember early in his criminal career, when he was accused of something and he denied it with his parents there, but then went back the next day and said, "Yep, it's all true." You bring up a good point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a recognition thing too. I did it. Maybe it's a, just pay attention to me type deal. Maybe I need the attention, and somebody's finally paying attention to me. It's somebody's, it's negative attention, but it's attention nonetheless.
Sure. Sure. I never thought about it like that, but you may be right.
He seemed to thrive on negative attention. He got plenty of it.
Yeah, he did. He did.
I want to bring up something. I want to leave a little bit of meat on the bone here, Rod. So to speak. But I do want to bring up a couple of things from the trial, and then I think we'll wrap up from there. One of the things that Ronald Bailey brings up himself that I find interesting is the devil made him do it. The demons in his head that tell him to kill, which was found to be a load of bunk. But it was an interesting story nonetheless. Tell us a little bit about the demons in his head.
Well, that was part of his defense, and it didn't hold water at all. And as soon as I read that in the police reports and the trial transcripts and such, I immediately thought of the previous book that I had written called "Killing Women," about East Lansing serial killer Don Miller, because that's the defense he used also. Mm-hmm. I ran into the house to save those people from demons. Ron Bailey claimed that he was hearing demon voices. But interestingly enough, he never heard those until after he was arrested and was in jail. Supposedly, he took one of the televisions in the jail that he had and slept with it, according to one of his inmate buddies that testified for him. But I think that the state's psychiatrists and psychologists that testified against Ron Bailey for the state, they are so used to seeing that type of defense and those types of claims that defendants make to try to get out of things, that they have to look at those and go, almost, oh, here we go again. Yeah. It didn't work for Ron Bailey. They saw right through it. They gave Ron Bailey some tests. I'm trying to think, the MMPI test.
The MMPI.
Yeah, and he intentionally, as far as I could tell, he intentionally answered those test questions like he thought they should be answered if someone was insane, which actually it was a huge red flag for the psychiatrists and the psychologists, because they were able to say, nobody answers like this. Nobody.
Right.
He's off the charts. If he was this crazy, we wouldn't even be able to talk to him. And so they knew that was all that was all put on too. They actually gave him that test 3 separate times, I believe. And finally, the last test that they gave him, they had contacted his attorney and said, look, your client's blowing smoke, okay? Yep. Just have him answer him like he's supposed to. And boom, he did. And his scores came back into where they normally would be.
Yeah, which you never give an MMPI 3 times. It's unheard of.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's unheard of.
Yeah.
The other, and one of the other points I wanted to bring up as we begin to wrap up here today, Rod, is this, and that is that he claimed that his doctor indoctrinated him into the world of pedophilia, so to speak, that his doctor was the one who was abusing him. And it's a little controversial that he was abusing him as he was being treated as a teenager. Tell us a little bit about Dr. Joe.
Dr. Tombo.
Dr. Tombo.
Joe,
yep.
Yeah, Dr. Joe Tombo
yep.
Was a Filipino doctor, psychiatrist at the Northville Regional Psychiatric Hospital, which was where Bailey went as a young adult. First, he'd been in the Hawthorne Center for Kids and then was admitted into, as he got older, into the Northville Regional Psychiatric Hospital. Dr. Tombo had been Ron Bailey's treating psychiatrist in both institutions, but he waited for Ron Bailey to turn 18 before he began to, let's say, seduce him, if you will.
Okay.
And it's interesting because Ron Bailey makes the claim that that's what caused him to go insane, and that's when he was insane when he killed Kenny Myers and Sean Moore, and it's all because Dr. Tombo had forced him into a homosexual relationship. I thought it was fascinating that the state psychiatrist said, well, if that in fact was the case, if Ron Bailey was introduced into a homosexual relationship by his doctor, it probably would have been for the better and driven him away from pedophilia. Mm-hmm. And so it really put a hole in Ron Bailey's defense. Dr. Tombo never even testified. They couldn't find him. Dr. Tombo opened his mouth when Ron Bailey was first arrested in an effort to offer him some sort of a insanity defense, but he had stipulations that he wanted put in place. They couldn't ask him about how he had taken Ron Bailey out of the hospital and taken him to the horse races over in Windsor, Canada, while he was an inmate. And it was at that point that Ron Bailey's attorneys knew they'd probably never see Dr. Tombo again once he left the office that night, because they weren't gonna stipulate to anything. And so Joe Tombo never testified. His medical license was eventually revoked by the state of Michigan, and he disappeared into obscurity. Nobody to this day knows where he ended up or where he is.
Wow. There's much more to the book. There's even a follow-up at the end of the book as to what happens with the different lawyers, the defense attorneys that defended Ron Bailey, which is a colorful story in that. I want to leave that for the book.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's a whole nother thing too. It's and you even mentioned the crimes that were committed that Ron Bailey may have been involved with earlier in his childhood. That whole chapter is fascinating as well.
Yeah, the last chapter. I think I want to leave your listeners with this. Mm-hmm. I want them to understand that this book is not about the Oakland County child killings,
right,
which occurred in the mid-'70s in Oakland County, Michigan. Right. But there is a chapter at the end of the book titled "Unanswered Questions."
Yep.
And And I think that your listeners will find that chapter fascinating.
Yes. Yeah.
I really do.
So, very much so. The whole book, really, Rod. I mean, you've knocked yourself out. It's from beginning to end, really. Depraved Obsession is a study in how, from beginning to end, a community can come together and find a killer just based on cooperation, on coming together and putting clues together. You know, like you said, it's more than just, profiling a pedophile and serial killer and that journey. It really is about the investigation. It really is about getting down to the investigation, the trial, and a community coming together to bring this guy to justice.
You're absolutely right, Tim, and you hit on a good point, because in law enforcement, back in the mid '80s, for law enforcement agencies to share information on a major case was almost unheard of. Mm-hmm. And in this case, law enforcement came together, local, state, and federal agencies came together, worked together to capture Ron Bailey, and they shared information. I can remember there was a serial killer in Michigan in the 60s and early 70s by the name of John Norman Collins. If there's a great book out about him, it's called The Michigan Murders. But in that case, the guy that ran the Sean Moore investigation for the state police, he said he had been a young trooper when the John Norman Collins murders were going on. Okay. And nobody knew who was killing these women in Ypsilanti, Michigan. And so he said the detectives would hold that information really close and wouldn't share it with even their own people. And he said when he was made the lead guy in Sean Moore's investigation, he said that I was not going to let that happen again. And all of the officers that I talked to and interviewed for this book, they said when he got up that first day, when the task force first met, he said very specifically, he said, I don't care who you are, I don't care who you work for, and I don't care how many years you have under your belt. If you have an idea, I want to hear it. And that's how he brought that task force together. And everybody was centered on sharing information and trying to find Sean Moore.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And like you said, the levels of cooperation were astounding for that time, especially.
Yeah.
They really were. They really were. Well, Rod, I know last time you came out with a book, I immediately asked when the next one was coming out. I was probably a little premature with that because you were like, whoa, we gotta get this one out first. I'm probably going to do it again. When's the next one coming out? You're probably going to tell me the same thing. Whoa, we gotta get this one out.
Well, here's what typically happens when my book goes to my publisher. As you all know, it's about a 6 to 8 month process before it actually is published. And in that time period, that's when I begin to work on new books. And so I do have 2 new ones that I'm working on at the same time. And that's a challenge. One of them is a quadruple murder in Michigan. And I'll just leave it at that. And the other one, I choose not to say what it will involve. I will just say that it's a cold case. Okay.
Yeah. The only reason I say, Rod, is I enjoy visiting with you so much that I'm just wondering when we're going to get you back on the program. That's all. Yeah.
I'll look forward to it.
Okay. Absolutely. So with that, folks, Depraved Obsession, the gripping true story of law enforcement's hunt for a sadistic serial killer, is available now by Wild Blue Press. We have a link in the description of this program. I encourage you to go get it right now. So, Rod, I want to thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Tim, and I will look forward to the next one.
As will I, my friend, as will I. Folks, we're going to lighten it up a little bit. It's time now for us to bring in Jessica Freeberg, and it's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time again, the time you've all been looking forward to. It's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals. And with that, I must have a co-host or hostess. So like last week was Mother's Day week. So what we did is we gave the ladies the week off because ladies are doing it for themselves. What they're doing, I have no idea what they do with their week off. We might find out this week. So with that, I reach across the Twin Cities. I grab a prolific author. Now you may say, is it Oprah? No, it's not Oprah. You may say to yourself, is it Toni Morrison? No, it's not Toni Morrison. But we have our own version of Toni Morrison. Yes, she's broken every record the Hindustan Times has to offer. I hear on good authority that she's looking to conquer Europe as we speak right now. Ladies and gentlemen, she's intelligent, she's witty, she's funny, and she's pretty darn easy on the eyes. Here she is. She's back from her Mother's Day break. It's Jessica Freeberg. Jess, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I'm rested. I'm relaxed. I'm ready to rock.
Ah, very good. Very good. I hear you have a child who ran away from home over the weekend or over the week. She ran right through a competition and Lord knows you can't find her now, right?
I lost a kid. Oh no, this is the nightmare.
Well, she put on track shoes and a uniform and she ran away from home and through a competition. And did she place or what happened?
Well, I think she PR'd, so that's her goal every time she gets out there is to get her personal record. So she just keeps getting faster and faster.
Oh, that's what that means. When I was in college, PR meant public relations. So I didn't know what that meant. PR'd. That's a new one for me.
PR'd, yep. If you PR at track, you get a bagel at the next practice. So she's always striving for a bagel.
So they carb you up? That's what they do?
Yeah, it makes sense, right?
My God, I'd weigh 700 pounds if every time I took off in a sprint, somebody threw me a bagel.
I'd run more. Honestly, I love bagels.
I do too. I love them a little too much.
Cream cheese on there.
Yeah. Oh, strawberry cream cheese. I love strawberry cream cheese so much.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Mm. Maybe I need to start running more on one leg. Yeah.
Can you use your little thing with the wheel and just put your knee up and run with the one leg?
Yeah, I could.
That's fair.
I could use my knee caddy. Yeah.
Do it.
I'd kill everybody though, because this one leg is so strong I can kick a bank vault open with it. Oh yeah, I've got muscles in this leg like you wouldn't believe. If I could just kick with this leg in the NFL, I could kick probably a 90-yard field goal.
Well, sign you up. Let's get you out there to try out.
I'm telling you, the Vikings need me. They need me this year. There's a reason why I wear these sweatshirts all the time. It's because a team is trying me out secretly.
Yeah. You're like, I'm here. Recruit me.
I'm here. Recruit me. 90-yard field goal. Just the
Put me in, coach.
That's right. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play today. Just big week today. Big week today. Listen to me. It sounds like a new program. Big week today on the big program. Boy, we have lots of dumb crimes and stupid criminals. By the way, nothing happened while you were gone.
Oh, good. I was afraid I was going to miss something. You know, that fear of missing out is real.
You missed a lot. It was actually dumb crimes, stupid criminals. It was pretty interesting last week.
Was it? Oh, darn it.
We had some interesting stories.
I'll have to listen to catch up. I haven't had time, but I will.
We had a lesbian couple that put nachos in stockings. And,
ooh.
Yeah, I know.
That sounds kinky.
It's quite salacious.
Well, I appreciate you letting me have Mother's Day week off. That was so nice.
Sure. I mean, you know, I don't know what weekend I get off, but I'm going to try and find one. I don't know. They don't have a chipmunk daddy weekend, but I'll try and find one.
They should.
Yeah.
That should be Earth Day. That should be your day.
Earth Day should be my day.
Your Father Earth.
I'm Daddy Earth. Earth Daddy.
Yeah.
That's my next t-shirt. Earth Daddy.
Oh my gosh. I've got such a running list of t-shirts I want to make for us.
Yeah. Earth Daddy. Earth Daddy. And it's gotta be EARF, Earth Daddy.
Yeah.
That's what it's gotta be. Well, I know one daddy, a French daddy, who's going to jail. Should we start with this one?
Yes, let's go.
Although I think the people he forced himself on won't be calling him French daddy, that's for sure. He's actually quite famous, this French daddy. French film star Gerard Depardieu. Don't be doing that no more, that's for sure. He's been found guilty of sexually assaulting 2 women on a film set in Paris. He's been given a suspended jail term of 18 months.
That doesn't seem like enough if you ask me.
Yeah, right? The 76-year-old actor was accused by 2 women of groping them during work on a film in 2021. You know, I know the French are amorous. I always thought that was a stereotype.
Well, he's living up to it, I guess.
I guess, right? Depardieu has denied the allegations against him, and his lawyer said he would appeal. No. That's his only comment. No. A court in Paris found that one of the women, a set dresser named Amélie, had given consistent evidence while the actor's accounts had changed over time. She told reporters afterwards that she was very moved and satisfied with the verdict, which for her was a victory and a major step forward. Depardieu was also convicted of assaulting an assistant director called Sarah, which was not her real name, by the way. The actor was not in court to hear the verdict, but was instead working on a film set in the Azores. Karine Diebolt, the lawyer acting for the 2 women, said she hoped the verdict marked the end of impunity for an artist in the film industry. It's a victory for 2 women on a film set, but it's a victory for all women behind this case. And I'm thinking all of Depardieu's other victims, she told reporters. The lawyer also noted that the case had come to an end hours before the Cannes Film Festival was due to start. The judge said there was no reason to doubt the words of the 2 women victims who had told the court how Depardieu had touched them on intimate parts of the body using lewd language. Well, that's not very French of him. I mean, he's supposed to be romantic, not lewd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hit me with some French beautiful words, not icky ones.
Yeah. Yeah. At least quote that one song, voulez-vous coucher, whatever that is, right?
Which I think sounds nicer than it actually is.
Yeah. It's not very nice. I found that out. Yeah. He placed Depardieu on a list of sex offenders and ordered him to pay compensation of, this doesn't sound like a lot of money, £1,000 each to Amélie and Sarah for secondary victimization. That's less than $1,000.
Yeah, that's pretty low for someone who, I mean, presumably if he's a well-known actor over there, he probably has money, right?
You can go get a hooker for less.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, a nice hooker with all her teeth.
Yeah, with all her teeth. That's right, Jeff.
Could be good or bad, depending. I don't know.
Well, maybe he doesn't want all the teeth. Maybe that's what he pays the extra for. Recent innovation covering the additional suffering for the women from the trial itself. Depardieu's lawyer, Jérémy Assu, has accused the women of lying during their evidence. Are you impressed with my French?
I am.
Thank you. The assaults took place in September of 2021 when Depardieu, I'm trying now, was making a film called Les Volets Verts, The Green Shutters. I think I didn't stick the landing on that one.
Close enough.
About an aging actor for coming to terms with his declining powers. Oh, how appropriate.
Wow.
Yeah. This was Depardieu's first trial on sexual assault charges. Several other women have made similar allegations in the media, and an alleged rape case could come to trial in the near future. After the trial, the actor was invited to join his close friend and fellow actor Fanny Ardant for a film shoot in the Azores. To which he said, "But of course." There you go. By the way, I don't want to get on the actor train today, but if you saw any of the stuff that's been coming out in the Diddy trial, holy cow, is this man evil?
Oh, I haven't been watching it, but it just, yuck.
Yeah, freak-offs. Boy, let me tell you.
And I don't even want to know who all was involved in them, because it would just ruin so many movies that I like.
Boy, oh boy.
Oh, yeah.
I'll never look at baby oil the same again.
No.
Nope. Never look at Cassie the same again. Just saying. Yeah. It's, I mean, I just keep like a casual eye on it. I'm not like all involved in it, you know, like if the story comes up on the evening news, I'll look at it. But man, oh, Manischewitz. Just saying. Whoa.
It's a mess.
It's a mess, that's for sure. Well, we go to Pennsylvania. We're speaking of bad kids. You tell me, would your kids do anything like this? This sounds like an entire family that's just bad apples.
Okay. Apples usually don't fall far from the trees, so.
Yeah. 3 juveniles, aged 12 to 13, and an adult are facing robbery, weapons, and drug charges following 2 separate incidents in Lancaster City.
Dang.
They didn't raise them right, I'll tell you that.
No, I was playing with Barbies when I was 12 and 13.
Right? Well, I wasn't playing with Barbies, but...
The truth just came out, Tim. You were.
Okay, fine. On Saturday, police charged a 12-year-old boy with robbery and conspiracy after they said he and a 9-year-old boy took items belonging to 2 12-year-old girls at, I believe this is Culleton Park on South Water Street. When the girls attempted to retrieve their items, the 12-year-old boy showed a handgun in his waistband. Little gangsta.
That's sad.
In Lancaster. Pulled a gun in Lancaster. Not Compton.
Yeah.
Not the Bronx. Not Chicago. Lancaster.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The girls fled and called for help, and the boys were later found and detained by police at Strawberry and Fremont Streets in the city next to the park, according to police. Strawberry and Fremont Streets. Yeah. Who said that the 12-year-old boy had a realistic-looking BB gun in the waistband of his pants. So, you know. Girl, you better get that up or I'm going to blast you with my BB gun.
Okay, that's really funny because I literally just moved one of those out of my office because it was on my bookshelf. And I was like, I can't have a gun on the bookshelf when we're recording.
Yeah.
Why did my husband leave this here?
Because, you know, he wanted you to represent while you're doing dumb crime, stupid.
Yeah, just in case I needed to shoot someone's eye out with a BB.
Yeah. Just hold it up and be like, yeah. The 9-year-old boy, by the way, was released to his parents because of his age, and police did not indicate that he is facing any charges. Police would not say if the 12-year-old boy that was charged, whether he was in custody or not. In a separate incident, 2 juveniles aged 12 and 13 were charged with weapons and drug violations on Monday after police responded to a call regarding a fight and weapons. Police said the Lancaster Safety Coalition, I can't believe there is one with all these kids running around doing all this bad stuff, helped them locate 11, 12, and 13-year-old juveniles in a home in the first block of East Andrew Street in the city. The 11 and 13-year-old juveniles had wads of cash, marijuana, and packaging materials, according to the police. So they got their own drug ring going.
Oh, my goodness.
Is anybody, I don't know, in Cub Scouts? Is there a soapbox derby going on anywhere?
Put that energy to good use.
A safety sweep of the home yielded crack cocaine, heroin, packaging material, and gun part box, all in plain sight.
Where were their parents?
I don't know.
I'm so confused.
Police said they also found a Smith & Wesson firearm, heroin and fentanyl, and crack cocaine, along with other related items. The 12-year-old Jess was charged with carrying a firearm without a license, possession of a firearm by a minor, conspiracy and possession with intent to deliver.
Those are some big charges for a little kid.
The 13-year-old was charged with conspiracy and possession with intent to deliver. Police would not say if the 12 and 13-year-old juveniles were charged were in custody. They didn't even know if they're in custody still. And they said charges are pending for the 11-year-old depending on the outcome of an investigation.
Oh my goodness.
Now, as far as the adult in the room, are you wondering if they did anything with the adult in the room?
Yes.
Okay.
Was this a parent of one of the kids? I'm wondering.
Yes.
Okay.
An adult described as a parent by police was charged with persons not to possess a firearm, possession with intent to deliver, recklessly endangering another person, and possession of a small amount of marijuana. Police said they are not releasing the name of the parent to protect the identities of the children. Why?
Oh my goodness.
Shame them and embarrass them.
Agreed.
And they did not say if the adult was the parent to all three children involved, if they lived at the East St. Andrews home, or if they were in custody.
It's kind of like, growing up on a farm and your dad puts you to work to slop the hogs or shovel the manure, only with drugs.
Right. Embarrass them all.
I mean, I can't imagine this was their idea. It had to have been the parent.
I got to think if you're that old already, you've probably been doing it since you were 7, 8, 9 years old. So you're probably a vet by now.
Yeah.
You're a straight soldier. You know what? Embarrass them.
Oh, so sad. It seems like the criminals just get younger and younger. I remember there was a kid who carjacked someone and was 10 years old and driving around in a stolen car. I'm like, you're 10. Can you even see over the steering wheel? Crazy.
The world's getting nuts.
Crazy world, Tim.
All weekend long, I kept saying, we're in the end of days. And then I'd just go on with my business. We're in the end of days.
It sure feels like it sometimes.
Yep. It's not that I'm getting jaded. It made me laugh just to say, we're in the end of days. Something small would happen. I go, we're in the end of days.
It's a sign.
Yep. It's a sign. We're in the end of days. Speaking of, how much is too much, Jess? That's the theme of our next story.
Okay.
A Vermont inmate finds out the answer to that question as he faces 1,100 contempt of court charges because he can't hear the word no.
Oh my goodness.
Todd Slade of Poultney, Vermont, that is facing more than 1,100 contempt of court charges after police say he repeatedly tried to contact the victim in his case. That's right, he just couldn't leave this person alone. 51-year-old Todd Slade of Poultney is an inmate at the Marble Valley Correctional Center in Rutland, Vermont. State police say he contacted or tried to contact the victim in his case 1,146 times via phone or internet between December of 2024 and March of 2025. Let's break that down by month. 1,146 times between December and March.
Oh my gosh, that's obnoxious.
That's over 300 times a month. That's
wow.
In 30 days, over 300 times in 30 days.
Yeah. I mean, that's at least a dozen times a day. And you think he probably took a break on like special occasions to celebrate, Mother's Day or something to that effect. But
Oh, I don't think he took time to celebrate Mother's Day.
it's just obsessive.
Do you think he took a break on Christmas?
I mean, probably not. He probably amped it up.
He's probably like, Merry Christmas. Hold on, I got to make a phone call.
That is so annoying.
Oh,
And scary to have someone that obsessed with you.
Police say he wanted the victim to tell investigators things about the case to get him released from custody. And I don't think after the first, 150 times, they're going to acquiesce.
Wow.
Slade remains in prison and will be arraigned on the new charges next month. All 1,100 of them.
Oh,
Do you think you're going to get buried under the jail?
I hope so.
I hope so, too.
Seems like he earned it.
Yep. Well, there's such a thing as deja vu. We learned about jamais vu last week on Supernatural News. Jamais vu is the opposite of deja vu.
Oh.
Yeah. It's where you do something over and over again till it has no meaning.
Oh, sounds like a lot of tasks in my life, honestly.
It's like where you say a word over and over again till it doesn't have any meaning. That's jamais vu, right?
Okay.
So deja vu, of course, you know what deja vu is.
Yes.
Well, this driver actually might be trying to commit jamais vu on a bank. This driver crashed into a bank again on the same day of the week in Hudson Valley. He just decided once wasn't enough. He's going to go for it again. In a bizarre repeat incident, an elderly driver crashed into the same Webster Bank branch in Rockland County in the same vehicle on the same day of the week at the exact same location where a nearly identical crash occurred just 6 weeks earlier.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The latest crash occurred on Friday, May 2nd at the Webster Bank at 44 Route 59 in Nanette. Prompting a swift response from the Clarkstown Police Department, Nanette EMS, Nanette Fire Department, and Pearl River Fire Department, who probably were like, oh, not again. Minor injuries were reported, though no serious harm was sustained. The Monzi Scoop posted a video from the scene on Instagram. I tell you what, I'll post the video so you can see what it looks like when someone goes through a bank the wrong way. Sources from the Monzi Scoop said that the driver was the same individual involved in a similar crash at the bank on Friday, March 21st, which was also reported by the Daily Voice at the time. In the earlier incident, which occurred around 2 p.m., the driver drove into the front of the bank, damaging the building but causing no reported injuries. Emergency responders from Clarkstown Police, Nanette EMS, and the West Nyack Fire Department were called to the scene. I don't know how you do that, Jess. I don't know. Is it like, oh, there's a magnet in the front of the bank and it's taking my car right through it? I mean, how do you...
Oh, it's on his list of things, Tim. He gets up in the morning. He's like, I take my vitamins at 8. I go for my walk at 10. I drive into the bank at noon.
Well, it's a drive-through, not a drive-in, right?
He just got confused.
I guess. You don't drive into the bank. I mean, it's a drive-in, but you don't drive in. I don't know. All right, a Lewiston man is arrested after a wrong-way chase ends in a crash with parked cars. Again, the cars weren't doing anything to you. Why are we crashing into the parked cars? Actually, something interesting. I was talking to Rod Sadler off air after the show. He had a dumb crime, stupid criminal story, and I wasn't rolling at the time. So maybe the next time we have Rod on, we'll have him tell his dumb crime, stupid criminal story. Because he was like, dumb crime, stupid criminals, I have a story. And I'm like, I just stopped rolling, Rod.
Shoot.
Duh. It's actually kind of funny, too. We go to Lewiston, Maine, where Lewiston police say they chased a car driving the wrong way that then crashed into some parked cars on Saturday morning. At around 1:20 a.m., police say that they spotted a car headed the wrong way down Ash Street. Here's the thing, Jess. I don't want you to get confused. This is not Ponch from Chips who is involved.
Okay.
But authorities say that 42-year-old Eric Estrada of Lewiston,
Not the same guy, tried to flee their pursuit, speeding down Howe Street towards Sabatis Street. The car reportedly lost its rear bumper before crashing into 4 parked cars, totaling all of them and pushing one on top of another. Now that is a crash. Dang, he'd have been going fast.
That's right. Police say that Eric Estrada then left the car and tried to run away, but was quickly arrested. Estrada was reportedly taken to Central Maine Medical Center with minor injuries. Police say no one else was hurt. Estrada was charged with the following: eluding an officer, aggravated criminal mischief, an OUI. What is an OUI? Oh, operating under the influence.
Wow. While intoxicated, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Operating without a license, driving to endanger, leaving the scene of an accident, criminal speed, and violating conditions of release. Estrada also received the following violations: wrong way on a one-way, seatbelt, failure to maintain control of MV, motor vehicle, failure to provide proof of insurance, and failure to stop at a stop sign. ×2, because once wasn't good enough. ×2. So there you go.
Throw that book at him.
Eric Estrada. Causing shit to happen.
Yep. Troublemaker.
That he is. All right. I have to ask you this, Jess. We're going to get into a series of food-related stories here. Lots of food-related stories today. Hope you're hungry.
Is it going to make me not want to eat?
Maybe by the time we get to the end of it.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. As I was putting them together, I got kind of hungry.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, you've had some in the past that made me never want to buy food, like donuts or produce at the grocery store or cakes.
Oh, there's one. Okay, there's one that happens at a restaurant. I'll tell you when we get to the restaurant. There is one related story that
Brace myself.
grossed me out. Yeah. I'll tell you about it when we get to it. This one's kind of funny. A man's caught on video purposely knocking over a tray at a Miami seafood restaurant. Have you ever been so mad at a waitstaff that you want to knock over a tray?
No.
I've never been that mad. But a man was caught on camera knocking a tray out of a waiter's hand, sending food all over the floor at a restaurant along the Miami River.
That's so mean.
It is. It's kind of an a-hole move, isn't it? You just bang.
Every time we go out to eat, I think I would hate to be a wait person. Like, I would not want to serve people in a restaurant. I would just not like it. There's many jobs I could do. That is not one of them. So I'm always try to be really nice to them. Freaking hit the tray out of their hands full of food. That's so mean.
Yeah, nobody deserves that. I don't care how mean they're being to you. No server deserves that. Luis Garcia, owner of Garcia's Seafood Grill and Fish Market, said, "My first response was anger. Garcia was outraged after his cameras captured a man deliberately slapping a tray with more than half a dozen plates full of food out of the hand of one of his servers. A man is exiting through a glass door of the restaurant located on 398 Northwest North River Drive, and just as the server walks by, he hits the edge of the tray, causing the food to crash to the floor. The server is left with a look of confusion as the man casually walks away. He knocked over the tray full of food, which was unfortunate as it was Mother's Day," Garcia said. "We had to make that food all over again, and we have to clean the floors."
Yikes.
I got to imagine they were full, too. Seafood restaurant on Mother's Day?
Oh, yeah. And what a waste of great food.
Right. Garcia said that while the video is shocking to watch, the man first confronted his general manager, walking right past a line of families with Mother's Day reservations. There's a whole line of people waiting to get in, and he just walks right past them and wants to confront somebody. He literally walks up to our staff and kind of puts his chest out, which is uncalled for, Garcia said. A video from the restaurant patio shows what Garcia said is the man demanding to be seated, and as his general manager begins calling the police, he's followed as he tries to avoid a confrontation after repeatedly asking the man to leave. When he was approached, he got aggressive, Garcia said. While days have passed since the disturbance for Garcia's diners, he said he's worried the person may have been mentally struggling with something more. This type of behavior warrants that we find this person, Garcia said. Since the incident, Garcia said several people have been calling to tip his server. He also says he's fortunate none of his staff or customers were hurt. Anyone who recognizes the man in the video is asked to call Miami-Dade Crime Stoppers at 305-471-8477. I tell you what, we'll post this video as well, so you can watch the video and see what this man does. And maybe you recognize him. You can help out. There you go. All right, our next food story. There's fraud in different ways here, Jess. I find it hard to believe that someone could commit this kind of fraud against DoorDash, but it's happened.
Okay.
A California man admits to scamming DoorDash out of $2.5 million using fake deliveries.
What?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of money. A former delivery driver has pleaded guilty to conspiring with several others to steal over $2.5 million from DoorDash. Sei, I believe it is Chaitanya Reddy Devagiri is what it is. Devagiri, who is 30 years old of Newport Beach, California, pleaded guilty on May 13th to one count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District of California. Prosecutors say Devagiri admitted to working with three others and a former employee of DoorDash in a fraud scheme that targeted the company between 2020 and 2021. In the scheme, the group caused DoorDash to pay for deliveries that never occurred, according to prosecutors. Prosecutors said the scheme resulted in more than $2.5 million in fraudulent payments. Devagiri was arrested and indicted alongside with, I believe this is Manaswi Mandadupu, who is 29 years old, Matthias Duarte, who's 29, and Hari Vasmi Ann, who is 30. And in October of 2024, according to prosecutors, all four were charged with a single count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Mandadapu pleaded guilty to the charge on May 6th. Prosecutors said Duarte and Ann previously pleaded not guilty and are scheduled to appear in court on July 22nd. The former DoorDash employee involved in the scheme, Tyler Thomas Bottenhorn, was charged in a separate indictment in September of 2022 and pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud in November of 2023, according to prosecutors. Devagiri is expected to appear in court for a status hearing on September 16th. According to prosecutors, he faces a maximum statutory penalty of 20 years in prison and a fine of $250,000.
Whoa.
Yeah. So you want to know how they did it? I'll just tell you briefly, because this is crazy. They manipulated the software. Okay. So DoorDash would, of course, you order on the app and then they bring you your food, right? So drivers who work for the company fulfill those orders by picking up ordered items from restaurants and other merchants and deliver them to customers. So according to an indictment, which was unsealed in 2024, the group worked together between 2020 and 2021. During that period, Devagiri, along with the other three, created multiple fraudulent customer and driver accounts with DoorDash. The group used the fraudulent customer accounts to place high-value orders from restaurants across Northern California, including Santa Clara County. They then utilized an employee's credentials to access DoorDash's computer system and software. The indictment further alleged that the group used computer systems to manually reassign DoorDash orders placed by the fraudulent customer accounts to their driver accounts. Prosecutors said Devagiri then would report the orders had been delivered on the driver accounts when they had not, and manipulated the software to prompt DoorDash to pay the driver accounts for the deliveries that had never occurred. Interesting. So you're manipulating two different ends.
Yeah. Smart. They figured it out, but use that smart for something good.
Right. And if you think about how complex it is, they only got $2.5 million out of it.
Right. That's a lot. How many of them were there? They had to split it between all of them?
There's four or five
Okay.
people. So it's not a lot of money for 4 or 5 people, when you think about how complex everything is.
Right. Yeah. Well, and now they're going to pay for it. So not worth it.
No. Devagiri, by the way, also used the DoorDash software to change the orders from complete statuses to in-process statuses and reassign the orders to deliver, or rather to driver accounts that the group controlled, according to the indictment. Prosecutors said Devagiri repeated this process, which took less than 5 minutes, hundreds of times for many orders. In total, the group stole over $2.5 million and received payments through bank accounts controlled by Devagiri, Madadapu, Duarte, and Ann, according to the indictment. Interesting stuff. It's, with any technology, Jess, you have fraud, right?
Right.
But this is high-tech fraud probably at its best, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And seriously, impressively intelligent to figure it out.
Yeah.
But geez, think of what you could do with that brain if you can figure out how to do bad things, figure out how to do something good with it.
Exactly.
Get a high-paying job with those kind of smarts.
That's right. Let's talk about a little bit more low-tech theft, which never got done. A family was accused of a $200 dine and dash, but they never did it. And in fact, they filed a massive libel lawsuit, which was settled. Allegations were entirely false, according to the family. The bar for justice is high. A well-off Irish family was awarded nearly $100,000 in damages over a $200 supposed dine and dash.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. They were falsely accused of skipping out on the bill at a bar in the UK. The allegations were entirely false, said Peter Gervin, the barrister representing the defendants, which was declared during a court hearing in Belfast on Friday. The incident occurred in July of 2024 after Peter and Anne McGurr, along with their children, Peter Jr. and Carol, were blasted over shocking behavior in a deleted Facebook post by the management at the Horse and Jockey in, I believe this is Tideswell, Derbyshire. The bosses had reportedly uploaded CCTV footage of the alleged dine and dashers, who they accused of leaving without paying their $200 tab. The Tyrone residents, who reportedly run a successful engineering firm, had reportedly ordered 10-ounce ribeye steaks with all the trimmings, 2 ham steaks, and several glasses of ale and lager. These false allegations were subsequently circulated in at least 4 different newspaper reports. Outraged over the wrongful accusations, the family sued the Horse and Jockey for libel on the grounds that these claims caused severe embarrassment and reputational damage. These articles contained serious and defamatory accusations that the plaintiffs had engaged in dishonest and criminal conduct by deliberately absconding without setting a bill of approximately 150 pounds or around $200, Gervin declared. The plaintiffs had not engaged in any such conduct, and the statements made by the defendants had no factual basis. As compensation for the defamatory claims, the bar was forced to pay approximately $99,500.
Oh.
Whoa!
Ouch.
And also foot the bill for the defendants' legal expenses. So they got almost $100,000 and they had to pay the lawyer bill.
Well, that'll teach you a lesson.
Right? If everybody who ever spread a bad rumor online had to pay that kind of money,
the world would be a much more beautiful place.
Oh, it would, wouldn't it? you'd be quick not to click and hit forward, right?
Yes.
Right. Horse and jockey representatives also accepted that there was no basis whatsoever for the allegations and apologized to the defendants. In a statement read on the family's behalf outside court, the McGurr's solicitor said that they had been violated by the outcome and were satisfied with the settlement. Oh, I would think they would be too. Hey, yeah. Yeah, get a little $100,000 settlement. Sure, why not?
Yeah, I volunteer if somebody wants to do that to me.
Yeah. I'll be libeled for $100,000. Why not? Following the verdict, the couple's daughter, Carol McGurr, expressed her relief on Facebook, stating 10 months later, thank God, only 10 months to make $100,000.
Wow.
Thank God it's all over, she says, and our names are cleared. Oh, whew.
Oh, wow.
Thank God.
Thank God.
Anybody want to libel me for $100,000? I'll take that. Take that tomorrow.
I mean, I'm embarrassed every day. Go ahead and libel me. It's fine. I'm here for it.
I think I dined and dashed at a Denny's once. Does Denny's want to come after me? I could use $100,000. Because I never have. All right. Another food story for us here, Jess. A grandpa is facing a felony charge after ramming the car of a man who tossed a burrito at his vehicle. Some guys are just owly.
I mean, why are we wasting all this food again? I love burritos.
Burritos are delicious, but they are not projectiles.
No.
As much as some people want to make them to be, they're not. 56-year-old Arturo Villarreal intentionally rammed his vehicle into the other driver's vehicle, causing major damages. Here's a picture of Arturo right here. He looks very mean, doesn't he?
He does.
Does he look like a burrito chucker to you?
He looks angry.
The burrito chucker. A Texas man is facing a felony charge after he allegedly rammed into another car in a road rage incident that was apparently sparked by a flying burrito. 56-year-old Arturo Villarreal was in his car with his two granddaughters in the parking lot of a Dollar Tree. Of course, it happened at a Dollar Tree.
And with kids in the car. Come on, Grandpa.
On May 9th, when he and another driver got into a confrontation that quickly escalated, according to a news release from Constable Mark Herman's office in Harris County. Deputies found that Villarreal and the other driver, identified in the release only as the complainant, had exchanged words in a heated spat. Villarreal then attempted to drive off when the other driver allegedly followed and then launched a burrito at the suspect's car. The suspect then whipped his car around and intentionally rammed his vehicle into the other driver's vehicle, causing major damages.
And again, with children in the vehicle.
Right. So it's like,
come on.
Hold on, kids. Grandpa's going to cream this mother.
Oh, my God.
He hit my precious vehicle with a burrito. So we're going to damage ours.
I would just stop and get out and scrape it off and have a little bite.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know.
Bean or chicken or beef. I don't care. I like them all.
Maybe it's a combo. That could be.
Why did he have a burrito in his car, I wonder?
I don't know. That's a good question.
There's so many questions.
Maybe it's lunchtime.
Was it a wrapped burrito? Was it in a to-go box?
Oh, yeah.
Was it just a naked burrito with no casing? I mean, just, no box, no wrapper, nothing. Just
a burrito bowl.
Ooh, I love burrito bowls.
Burrito bowl is so good. Lots of protein there. Lots of good protein. Villarreal was booked into the Harris County Jail on a felony charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. His bond was set at $7,500. Plus, he's got to fix his vehicle.
And explain it to his grandchildren's parents. You know how mad I'd be at my mom?
Grandpa,
my dad.
Grandpa lost it. Sorry.
I can more imagine my mom doing this than my dad, but I would be angry at either one.
Your mom would go off like that? She'd be like,
Oh, yeah. My mom gets a little of the road rage. And she's like 5 foot tall, like 100 pounds. She's just like this little, and she drives a giant truck.
that figures. The little woman in a big truck with the big attitude.
With the big attitude. Yep. Don't mess with her.
The other driver was not taken into custody despite throwing the burrito. Assault with a deadly beaner. Because it did not cause any damage. The burrito didn't cause any damage. What about peeling the paint? What if there was hot sauce in the burrito?
Or even the grease, from the beef or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. I think you should get charged with something. I mean, just a little something.
You would think, but I guess not. Okay, now remember I told you there was a restaurant that there was a story that gave me the willies, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the story that gave me the willies was quite a few years ago. Popeyes had a story about having pinworms in their beans and rice.
Oh, Lord God, no.
Yeah.
No. Ew.
Yeah, and ever since then, although I love their beans and rice, I used to love it. So I used to just, now every time I get their beans and rice, I comb through it like I'm looking for treasure because I can't just pile into their beans and rice anymore.
How does that happen?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I used to love their beans and rice. I mean, I would snarf them down. I would just, that and their jambalaya. I just thinking about it right now, my mouth is watering.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind a little, maggot in my peanut butter. There, you get a certain percentage.
Oh, no.
There's a little wiggle room. Yeah. You get a certain percentage of maggots in your peanut butter or whatever. It's just part of the process. But pinworms?
I could have lived all my life without knowing that. Maggots in your peanut butter?
Oh, yeah. There's a little wiggle room for all the icky things that could be in there. They get like a very small percentage of wiggle room to have it in there. Yeah.
No.
And maybe it's not maggots. Maybe it's the worms in the peanuts. I feel like it's maggots, though. Maybe I'm making this up, Tim. I just lied. I'm just making this up.
No, you're not.
You can eat peanut butter. It's fine.
I don't eat a lot of peanut butter to begin with, but no, ew.
They make machines to like kind of clean all that out, but it can't clean everything.
Ew.
It's true. My friend's husband has a whole company that sells those machines. This is why I know this.
Ew.
Oh, you look so sad. I'm sorry. I ruined your peanut butter.
No, peanut butter no more. No.
Yeah, but pinworms? I mean, that's worse.
Yeah, it was horrible. I just I haven't been to a Popeyes more than twice since. 2 times. I've gone to Popeyes exactly 2 times since that story. Because I was so traumatized. Just because I kept seeing this little worm coming up out of the beans and rice in my head, and I couldn't do it. But that brings us to this story. A Popeyes manager shot a coworker over burnt biscuits.
Shot him?
Yeah. Hey, you can't burn those biscuits. Those are, now, do you like the fake butter flavor of the biscuits at Popeyes, or do you prefer the biscuits at KFC?
I'm a KFC girl because that's what I grew up eating. That was my first job. I was the Kentucky Fried Chicken girl with my little chicken pants and my visor.
See?
Yeah. I just prefer them because that's what I grew up eating, though, probably.
See, I'm more of a KFC biscuit guy myself, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're flakier.
Yeah. Well, my favorite biscuit is hands down going to be Red Lobster biscuits.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the best
Cheddar
ever.
Bay. Cheddar Bay are the best.
Yeah.
But I'm just talking chicken joint versus chicken joint. I'm not talking.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah. The by far KFC over Popeyes, because Popeyes is kind of condensed. I mean, you could literally throw one on an ice rink and play hockey with it.
They're like a puck. Yeah, I was going to say they're just a little, chewier. They're not as flaky.
Yeah.
I like a flaky biscuit.
Right. Well, we go to Charlotte, North Carolina, where a Popeyes manager was accused of shooting his coworker over burnt biscuits. That's right, my biscuits are burning. According to an affidavit from law enforcement in North Carolina, 22-year-old Rodney Wood, who manages his own Popeyes already, hey, he's an up-and-comer, was arrested and charged with attempted first-degree murder. The shooting happened at around 6 p.m. on May 11th at the Popeyes restaurant on South Boulevard near Carolina Pavilion Drive. A witness who was a customer at the time of the shooting told police the altercation stemmed from an argument between Wood and another employee because of overcooked biscuits. The witness reported that both went outside after one challenged the other, which led to a physical fight. During the fight, Wood allegedly pulled a gun and fired 2 rounds, one for each biscuit. I don't know. Court documents state that a video taken from the scene shows Wood discharging his firearm twice at point-blank range. Both shots hit Wood's coworker, one in the groin and the other in the chest.
Oh my gosh.
Ouch. That employee was rushed to Atrium Health, Maine, in life-threatening condition with critical injuries. He underwent emergency surgery over biscuits.
We are living in a world filled with angry people.
End of days, Jess. It's the end of days.
I'm not going out of my house anymore. I like it right here.
When officers arrived at the restaurant, Wood was gone, of course. According to witnesses, Wood ran away, but police found and apprehended him within the same shopping center. Probably looking for somebody else who could make biscuits, it's my guess. Wood claimed the coworker he allegedly shot was also a manager. So he shot a fellow manager over not being able to make biscuits. I think that's in the training manual, if I remember right. If you can't make biscuits, you get shot. If you can't make the chicken, you get guillotined, I think is what it is. Yeah, I think that's the penalty at Popeyes. Wood claimed to police that once he and the other manager stepped outside, he was punched in the face 3 times, which is standard, I believe, at Popeyes.
Which in and of itself, that's crazy.
That is.
I'm so angry over biscuits, I'm going to punch you in the face 3 times. That if you told me that was a story, I'd be like, that's nuts.
It gets even better. He allegedly then fired 2 warning shots that were not intended to kill. So it was like bang, bang, bang. Hey, boom, boom, back up. None of that makes sense. Wood attempted to justify his actions, but the affidavit says he failed to articulate a credible, imminent threat of deadly force necessary to support a self-defense claim under state law. The words, I know I said the words.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense as I say it.
No.
It's like I just said a bunch of gibberish. The 2 allegedly had conflicts in the past, which caused Wood to request a transfer to avoid working with the other employee. Yeah.
So you're saying it's not really about the biscuits?
I guess not.
Yeah.
I guess it's not about biscuits after all, is it, Jess? It's not about biscuits after all.
Oh, my.
Well, I think this next story may explain what happened with those 2. This may be the true reason why those 2 got into it. A Walmart shopper who's 73 years old claimed that the devil made her do it. I think that's what happened between the 2.
Must have been.
Yeah.
The devil's been busy.
He has been, yeah. Well, it's the end of days, Jess. That's why. End of days. The devil made me do it. That's what a 73-year-old woman told Florida cops when she was arrested Saturday evening for allegedly shoplifting merchandise from a Walmart. Makes sense. Okay, you're free to go. As long as the devil returns the merchandise, we're good. Police say that Angela Velasquez Taborda was stopped by Walmart security when she sought to exit a Tampa area store with $121.85 worth of goods. By the way, she had shampoo, socks, men's shorts, etc. Oh, that's nice. She's looking out for others. Evidently, the devil is giving.
She's buying gifts.
Yeah. Well, the devil was, right? If the devil made her do it. So the devil is evidently like, well, some guy out there needs some shorts. Taborda, cops say, had stashy items in a plastic bag that she brought into the retailer. Oh, well, she brought her own bag. That's nice.
I think you get like 5 cents off when you bring your own bag.
Yeah, see? Look at that. The devil's a caring devil. And recycles. According to investigators, Taborda initially denied swiping the merchandise, but later admitted they did attempt to leave the store without paying for these items. As for a motive for the alleged larceny, cops report Taborda stated they were told by the devil to buy them for someone else. I love that they're using they here. Because literally it's they. It's the devil and Taborda. They.
Right.
Right?
It's a team. It's a team.
It's a team effort. Taborda stated they were told by the devil to buy them for someone else, but she did not have enough money, so she attempted to leave with them. Oh, now we're going from they to she. This is confusing. An arrest affidavit does not further describe Taborda's conversation with the devil, who has not been charged in connection with the misdemeanor retail theft.
They didn't charge the devil?
No.
How interesting.
They should have, though. I would have.
Yeah, throw the book at him.
You throw the book at the devil. Taborda was released from the county jail after posting a $150 bond. While a judge has ordered her to stay away from Walmart, Taborda is not barred from contact with any mystical or mythical personifications of evil. So she's free to cavort with the devil as much as she likes.
Yeah.
All right. It's that time again, folks. It's time for Not Safe for Work. So you know what that means. It's time for us to get rowdy with the devil, so to speak. So you want to take your boss and get rid of him and get rid of the kids and get rid of anybody else who's impressionable. And we'll do that in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As I take a sip of my devilish Coke. All right, we're going to start off fast and furious here. He was just like Goldilocks, Jess.
Oh.
Yeah. Just nice and peaceful. A nude intruder was found sleeping in the bed of an Echo Park home after ransacking it.
Not nude.
Yeah. Got to get naked if you're going to ransack this house.
Some people just like set it on fire after they take them out. Yuck.
Not only was it ransacked, it smelled like ass. Who gets naked to ransack a house?
I feel like you could hurt yourself.
Right? There's plenty of sharp objects everywhere. You don't know where stuff is placed.
Yeah.
Why are you
throwing stuff around? You might accidentally hurt yourself. I don't know.
Right. Why are you getting nude to do this? I don't know. And of course, I'm sure it's a guy who got naked. Let's find out.
Yeah.
An Echo Park resident made a disturbing discovery over Mother's Day weekend. Of course, it happened on Mother's Day weekend. When he found a stranger sleeping nude in his bed, Michael Duarte, an NBC4 sports writer, found his home ransacked late Saturday night. Food from his pantry and fridge had been taken out, and his miscellaneous items were found scattered across his kitchen. My first thought was, did some wild animal come into my home and damage everything?
Yeah.
You're close. Yeah. Upon closer inspection, the homeowner noticed the glass of his back door had been smashed and used as a means to break in. While surveying his home, Duarte took a look into his bedroom, and guess who he saw?
Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, well, now you're taking it a bit too far. He saw a man sleeping in his bed.
No. I would be so disgusted because he ate his food and he's naked. So he's probably like sitting on his furniture. Like his naked arse was all over that house.
Yes.
I'll be so mad.
Yes, Jess, you got that right.
Ugh.
He saw a naked man sleeping in his bed. The quote here from Duarte was, "To see a man not just sleeping in my bed, but completely naked sleeping in my bed, I was shocked," he said. "Like Goldilocks from the Three Bears and someone sleeping in my bed instead of the little bear."
Oh.
Yeah. Following the alarming discovery, Duarte told his friend who was waiting in a nearby car to call police. Officers then arrived, dressed the man, and took him to jail. Because Goldilocks is going to be wearing something on his way to the
They're
hooch
like,
shop.
we don't want his naked butt in the back of our police cruiser.
Oh, yeah, especially if there's Naugahyde seats, because he's just going to peel right off on his way into booking. Yeah.
So gross.
Yeah. As he was being walked away in cuffs and thrown into the back of the squad car, he was yelling to me and my friend, and also to the officers, "I'm going to kill you." You already killed us with the sight of your naked body.
Oh,
Yeah.
I wonder if he was on meth.
Oh, well, let's find out. As if the break-in wasn't enough, the intruder helped himself to the resident's kitchen and ransacked the home in a bizarre way. The man clogged the toilet with towels, ate a box of ice cream sandwiches, ate a box of Beyond Beef burger patties, and raided Duarte's stash of chewing gum. Yeah, I think meth is on the menu.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a fresh pack with 60 inside unopened, he said. He opened it up, chewed all of them, and then spit a big wad of gum about the size of a softball. Yeah.
Who does that? Crazy meth head.
That's right. The intruder also killed a possum on the back patio by using a statue.
Whoa. What?
I'm telling you, it gets insane.
Oh my gosh.
Neighbors said the bizarre break-in has left the neighborhood shaken. Breaking and shaken. We're rhyming. We're a poet and we don't know it. It definitely changes how you think about things and how safe you really are, said Lindsay Savino, who lives in the community. Law enforcement has not released the name of the suspected intruder. The case remains under investigation.
Yikes. That is scary. I mean, because you can have everything locked up, but if you have a glass slider door, people can break it.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you about the time my parents caught a guy on their camera in the back of their house, and he had like a baseball bat with like nails hammered into it that he was bringing up on their back porch, I'm assuming to break into their house through the window.
No.
Yeah, it was crazy. And it woke my mom up because she wakes up for everything.
Yeah.
And of course, my dad got his shotgun. Next thing you see, and the floodlights all turn on, they're motion activated. The next thing you see on the camera is my dad out there in his underpants with a shotgun.
Surprise!
And you can almost hear the words. You can see his mouth going.
Oh
know what he was
God.
saying.
Oh, yeah. Well, at that
You better
point,
run.
At that point, the adrenaline's flowing.
Oh.
I'd have some
Yeah,
words, too.
when we watch the video, I'm like, that is freaking scary. If you didn't have, alarm systems on your house and it didn't wake them up, what was he going to do? He was going to break into their house with that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's scary.
That is scary. Oh, my God. Well, speaking of breaking into things, we have another break-in story.
Okay.
It's a twofer today, Jess.
Is this another naked one?
Maybe.
Yay.
I'm going to show you a picture. You ready
Okay.
for this? Take a look at this guy.
Oh, was this the naked man?
And maybe a little more than that. Are you ready for a bonus?
Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay, I'm ready.
This suspect was found with a tool inside the display shed. A tool.
No.
That's why it's not safe for work. This man, all of 66 years old, was caught pleasuring himself at a Louisiana business.
Yeah.
That's right. The shed was not in someone's yard. It was at a business.
Ew.
Meet James Caliavas. We just did. The 66-year-old Georgia man was arrested Sunday for obscenity after police discovered him pleasuring himself inside a display storage shed at a Lowe's home improvement store in Louisiana.
Why?
He couldn't wait to get home, Jess. He just said, "Hey, there's a display shed at Lowe's.
He's like, this shed is sexy.
Yeah. Look at the shape on that shed. Cops responded to the Slidell business after getting a 911 call that a naked man was inside one of the small sheds being offered for sale. Literally, he got inside of it.
Oh, no. And he was naked. I mean, you don't have to be fully naked for that to happen.
No.
But he was naked.
Oh, he got
Way to
into it.
commit.
Yeah, he committed to the bit, didn't he? He got inside of it.
Oh, God.
Literally. After examining several sheds, an officer discovered Calavas lying on his back on the floor of one unit with his pants at his ankles and an open bottle of Vaseline at his side.
Wow. He just brought that with him. I mean, he had a plan.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't walk around with a container of Vaseline for no reason.
Nope. Calavas was in the midst of a personal pleasure session at that point. Where do you put the handcuffs? That's my question. I mean, at that point, do you put one on the wrist and one on the Or do you?
Oh.
I mean, do you?
I mean, you have to, to put the handcuffs on, you have to touch his hands. I'd be like, hold on, I need to put on my gloves.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean,
don't want to touch you after you.
You got to latex up, right? I mean,
yeah.
Do you cuff the Vaseline? Do you? I mean,
I feel like you need a few sets of cuffs for this particular instance.
Do you cuff him to the shed? I mean, is the shed a co-conspirator?
The shed was asking for it, Tim.
The shed was. Oh, yes. How can you shed shame in this case? Calavas reportedly acknowledged that he had been masturbating inside the shed while watching YouTube. Because everybody needs a self-starter. What was he watching? Home improvement channels while he was in there? I'm sure, right?
If I was a shed, I'd be insulted. Like, I'm not hot enough for you. You
Right?
have to watch YouTube, too.
Am I not enough? Calavas was arrested for obscenity and booked into the city jail. Police listed Calavas's resident as Jasper, a Georgia city about 60 miles from Atlanta. The Jasper residence shown in public records for Calavas is a 1-acre property containing a small mobile home. Oh, so the shed was like, I don't know, a mansion for him. I mean, there's a whole bunch of room in there.
Oh, no.
Oddly, the county property assessor's website includes 3 photos of the site, but the images only show a small storage shed. So the big shed was probably like stretching out for him. He was probably like, yeah, this is bigger than the one at home. I'm going to try and paint the ceiling. Hit the target.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. So that's our last not safe for work story. Do you need a palate cleanser now, Jess?
I could take one.
You could take one? Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You have one for me?
I do have one for you. All
right.
I don't know how much of a palate cleanser today is, but let's give it a shot. They say as you get older, as you decline, that maybe wearing an adult diaper isn't the most keen fashion sense in the world, but it turns out, thanks to Sydney Sweeney, maybe wearing an adult diaper is the fashion sense.
Okay.
Maybe it's in vogue. Maybe it's the thing to do. Thank you, Sydney Sweeney. Diaper shorts are now hot, thanks to Sydney Sweeney, but are the butt of jokes online. Little lad poopy pants is the headline. Believe it or not, fashion plates are poo-pooing these poofy pants. And I'm going to show you the, if I can here, because there's an ad in the way and I can't get rid of the ad for some reason. I never can on these sites. I don't know what the deal is. Oh, here we go. Here is the new trend, Jess. There you go, right there.
Okay.
These are diaper shorts.
Well, why is she wearing diaper shorts? She's like in the prime of her life. She doesn't need diaper shorts.
Well, that's the new trend, thanks to Sydney Sweeney. Diaper shorts. Yeah. Diaper shorts. It's supposed to
Perfect
be
for a long car ride.
I guess. Causing a big stink, bloomers, more disparagingly known as diaper shorts, are controversially rising as the hot season's hottest bottoms. But the questionable cutoffs are leaving some clothes horses pretty hot under the collar. Diapers? What the hell? What the helly? Shrieked a cyber naysayer criticizing the sack-like shorts from Artesia, which is a women's fashion retailer. Little lad poopy pants, spat another beneath a trending TikTok clip of the much maligned micros, which have also been slammed with nasty nicknames like granny panties, vintage undies, and Victorian bloomers. Victorian bloomers is the name of my new football team. Snide remarks aside, when it comes to tracing the origins of these togs, the haters are right on the money. Bloomers are a bifurcated garment that were worn under dresses in the 19th century, according to a report from NYC's Fashion Institute of Technology, adding that the frillies were named for women's rights activist Amelia Bloomer, an advocate of dress reform in the 1800s. So they were worn under dresses, not on top of anything. So why are people wearing them as shorts?
I don't know.
Since Bloomer's day, however, the once ankle-length underclothes have undergone several severe cuts and have become a wardrobe staple thanks to the recent underwear as outerwear trend. Oh, I see where this is going. Okay. French luxury fashion house Chloe offers its mini bloomer shorts in silk. Is it charmeuse? Yes. Which are currently sold out in all sizes for, get this, Jess, $1,450.
Come on.
Seriously. Mini bloomer shorts and silk charmeuse. Would you like some Chloe shorts? I could put some on back order for you if you'd like.
I mean, I do have a long road trip coming up, so if I can legitimately use them as a toilet, I might be down for it.
Is it Miu Miu, an Italian haute couture label famous for its itty-bitty garb, hawks cheek-bearing bloomers, the poplin briefs, for a little bit cheaper price of $995, and the even skimpier hot short at a cool $1,150.
Oh my gosh.
Here's what they look like, Jess, just in case you're in the market for them. They literally look like a diaper.
They literally look like a diaper.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Can you see yourself sporting a pair of those?
And people are paying over $1,000 for you. You couldn't pay me to wear them. Okay, maybe you could. For $1,000, I would wear those.
Would you wear those for $1,000? Not
I
paying
wouldn't pay you, but you could pay me.
Right. Not paying $1,000 to wear them, but yeah. Here's another picture of another model wearing, again, those diaper shorts.
Oh, they're so weird.
Aren't they? But they cost almost $1,000.
That's terrible. People have too much money to spend if that's what they're spending it on.
I'm telling you. Now, Artesia's got mega bloomers, which go for $45, which are a little cheaper. Here's the French cut version. Just get an idea of what the French cut version looks like.
That's not enough coverage. The poop would come right out the sides of that, Tim. That's just impractical.
I don't think you're supposed to be shitting in these. I really don't.
Oh, well.
But, okay, so Voguish VIPs such as singer Dua Lipa, Jennifer Lopez, Addison Rae, and Sydney Sweeney have even been spotted sporting the tiny trousers. Dua Lipa did the showstoppers during a girls' trip to the tropics, while internet icon 30-year-old Rae, Addison Rae, that is, donned a pair to complete the street chic swag she oozed during a separate vacation overseas. Pop culture's perennial pinup J-Lo, who, did you know J-Lo is 55 now?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Gave fans a gander at her gorgeous gams in bubble-hemmed bloomers by Chloe late last year. So she paid the $1,450.
Crazy.
She got some Chloe bloomers. She's wearing the poopy diaper. Oh, okay. I think this is her in the, is this? Okay, so here's Addison Rae in hers, right? Here's Addison Rae in hers.
Okay.
Okay. And here's J-Lo in her bloomers. Now, that's what the $1,450 ones look like. They're not bad.
I mean, her whole outfit is kind of floofy, flowy.
Yeah, so you can't.
Funky, right?
Can't really
She's basically wearing a diaper on her entire body.
Yes, she is. And here's the one that Sydney Sweeney wore. So you can't really tell on her because it looks like she's wearing some sort of chiffon truffly thing that came from Prince's wardrobe 40 years ago.
But it straight up looks like a diaper under like a jacket.
Yeah, it looks like she's wearing a jacket and a diaper.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't either. It's interesting, though.
But I'm not cool. I mean, I won't even pretend to be cool.
Oh, don't say that.
But, if cool is wearing a diaper, I'm good with not being cool.
You're good with not being cool? Sydney Sweeney, by the way, that picture I just showed you, promenaded through Paris in that diaper while attending Miu Miu's Women's Wear Fall Winter 2024-2025 for Paris's Fashion Week. She too posed in a $95 ruffled pair from Cosette d'Ames or Amez. We say Ames because in Iowa we say Ames, right?
Yes.
Yeah. At the 2025 Stagecoach Festival in April. The diaper vibes notwithstanding, everyday tastemakers are loving the look too, supposedly. Tegan, I believe this is Osbaldiston, a Big Apple-based content creator, proudly profiled in the baggy bloomers online, hoping to stylishly change the minds of detractors who say the shorts aren't cute. Oh, this is you, Jess. Saying the shorts aren't cute. Vanessa Gerstner, however, hopes the bottoms continue to leave trolls peeved. Here's the quote: "Here to piss some people off again with my diaper shorts." The virtual trendsetter teased as she slipped into the briefs in blue. "I'm here to disrupt," Gerstner spat, "and not look like everybody else." Well, that's fine. Put on your diaper and go prance around.
I mean, it definitely doesn't make me mad.
No. Doesn't make me mad either. It just looks like you got a diaper full of shit as you walk around. Does that make me old?
No, it doesn't. It makes you sane and logical.
Okay. All right. It just gives me Midwestern sensibilities. Is that what that?
I feel like this spans across all states where we're all scratching our heads going, why?
I don't know anymore.
Weird.
All right. Well, that'll do it for today for Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. And that was your palate cleanser. Every once in a while, the palate cleanser makes no sense. You know what I mean? It takes you in a different direction. So you're not thinking about the other stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, I have some diapers upstairs from my dog because at the end, my big boy, Indiana Jones, he was having a hard time with stuff. So he had to, I'm like, this is what it looks like to me. I'm going to start wearing them.
There you go. Well,
I'll post it online.
You'll be in fashion. There you go. You'll be fashionable.
Not just a diaper, a doggy diaper. Next level.
There you go. You will be haute couture, my friend. Just saying.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, Lord. Well, let's see. What do we got coming up this week? Supernatural News tomorrow with Mally Fox. And then, I get to tease Thursday. Thursday, we'll have a look into an event going on in the Midwest later this summer. And then we'll also, we'll tease one of the stories One of the stories has to do that these people have. These people, multiple people being on the show this week.
Ooh.
We did dive into Jim Morrison being a secret teacher of the occult this past week. One of the stories that our guests have, and they have multiple stories, multiple paranormal stories this week. One of them has to do with a rock singer and a brush with the occult. That's all I'll say. Just one of the many stories they have. They have a lot of different stories we'll talk about. But they'll also be promoting an event going on in the Midwest this summer. So
Very cool.
But a lot of different paranormal stories coming up for you this week on Thursday. So we'll have more.
Those are my fave.
We'll have more tomorrow. So yeah. And a new theory in the paranormal for investigators. So that coming up as well. Lots of good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of good stuff. So anything new in your world? I know you've got new books that are about to come out, right?
Yep. In August, I have 4 books coming out in August. So prepare yourself to buy those. I don't know.
All right. And then we have a link as well, and because they're on the pre-sale right now, right?
Yeah, they are in pre-sale right now.
Okay.
They are. And you can still get some of the other ones too. And I can do signed copies. If you want a signed copy, you can shoot me a message, and I'm pretty good at getting back to you and getting those sent out to you.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, that'll do it for today. And again, we want to thank our guest for today. And we want to remind you about the book. The book is out and available right now by Wild Blue Press. Our guest today, Rod Sadler. The book is Depraved Obsession. It's available right now by Wild Blue Press. We have a link in the description of this program. Be sure to go get it right now. Okay, that'll do it for today. Thank you for listening and watching the best in true crime podcasting. For Jessica Freeberg, I'm Tim Dennis. We'll see you tomorrow right here on True Crime Tuesday.